And here we are live on the air, here to help you once again. My name is JD Thomas. I'm Business and Communications Advisor with Jade Strategic Relations, helping you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, whether it be in life and in business. And this channel and this business has been set up to try to help businesses and people become more effective communicators, more effective leaders. And one of the things that one of the purposes of the podcast I'm doing is to help people understand that there are a lot of resources out there, free resources. There's amazing information that you can use to help grow yourself and your business. I am having a little bit of trouble with allergies today, so I'll try to avoid words like breathe, and doesn't come out like breed. But I want to make sure that we have a great session today because it's about leadership. Leadership is something that a lot of people research and are interested in. And it can be somewhat nebulous. There's a lot of different ideas as to what leadership is. And what we're going to do is cover a little bit of that today. And one of the things that I really, really believe in is actually, there's a great quote from Kinsey and Company, and it's leadership is a set of behaviors used to help people align their collective direction, to execute a strategic plan, and to continually renew an organization. And I like that idea of that, although strategic plan is something I'm not a big fan of. Strategy is often confused with planning, and strategic is put in front of planning far too often, and it shouldn't be there. Little side note here on that is that if you follow Roger L. Martin, who is the former dean of the Rotman School of Management at University of Toronto, and he has a great, I highly recommend looking into it, this great perspective about strategy versus planning. And strategy is you're putting yourself out there on a play field and you don't control the attributes, the things that will help you establish that strategy. Plans are things that when you have resources that you're able to control. You're talking about budgets and staffing and things like that. And those plans can help go into line to help create that strategy being more like a vision, which is a part of leadership. But when you have an idea of strategy, it's different than planning. And so sidebar, little side tangent on that, but it's really important. Highly recommend Roger L. Martin and checking him out, especially if you're interested in business and leadership and communication. But back to leadership. And leadership, it's got nothing to do with rank. People think about in the organizations and they think about communities and they think about leadership as being this thing where someone has a position of authority. And that gives them that's a leadership. And people will say, I'm a leader of a community. And leadership is something for other people to define whether you're a leader or not. Leaders are people who follow others. Great quote from the chief technology officer at EMC at the time when I was there was that managers are chosen from above, leaders are chosen from below. And that's a very important distinction because when you have effective management, a good manager can be a good leader. And companies that are inherently interested in leadership, in principles of growing people and growing their organization through better practices, they'll look to people who are leaders and they'll raise them up, not just somebody who's checked off the boxes as managers. And part of that comes to the people in management themselves. I've been part of many organizations that have chosen people based upon just certain key factors, the hitting performance targets, and not necessarily about how they interact with others in their teams and in the organization. And that is a very big tell of whether an organization is going to be an effective organization at bringing people in, bringing people together. I've also been in organizations where people who achieved some of those check boxes and did good things, but they weren't really great people to the people around them. And that tended to be a flag for those organizations. I am a part of Toastmasters, which is an organization, a not-for-profit organization. It's been around for almost 100 years now, that helps people develop leadership and communication skills. And I've had the fortune to lead in that organization, both in my club and in a district, which is hundreds of clubs. And opportunities come around to provide to work on those leadership skills and to develop skills that will help you become an effective leader. And those are behavior traits. There are goals, there are traits that you can establish that will allow you to become a good leader. And it doesn't matter, you don't have to be at the top of an organization. You probably, if you've worked in groups and businesses where you've been in teams, and not the person at the top isn't always the person that's leading. Sometimes it's just setting a vibe. Sometimes it's the person that's just trying to help others get their things done. And that's service. And those are two different aspects of it, which we're going to cover in a minute. You remember that managers are people put in place to accomplish a goal. Leaders are people who help get people to achieve a goal. And that's important, this distinction. There's very effective ways at being a manager and being a leader. But if you think about communities that you've been in, organizations, sports teams even, you'll have a captain. And often the captain is the person who's leading the team, setting the energy, setting that pace, and helping the others on the team go in a direction that is going to be helpful for all of them. They care. In an organization, you'll find that people who are leaders are not the people who are in at 9 and leave at 5. They're the ones who put extra time. They have an understanding of what's going on. And having a little bit of trouble with technology here today, but there we go. And so, but I want to talk about the leadership traits. What are the traits and how do you enact them in your organization, whether it be a business organization, be it a community, on a sports team? They are the same. These are the same qualities that you'll find people having, no matter what organization they're a part of and where they are in the organization. These are things that you can do and develop. It takes time to develop these things. So keep them in mind as we go through. Number one is vision. And vision is, you don't have to be the one that has the vision. You could follow someone else's vision, especially the person at the top of the business, the chief executive officer or president. They're the ones setting the idea, the vision of where things are going. And every group has a vision of what they're doing. But having that vision and explaining that vision, it's not good enough to just have the vision and, okay, I know what I got to do and know what's going to be done. A leader shares that vision, and they know how to share it with the people that are important. They articulate it in a very effective way, that this is where we're heading. This is the idea that we're going towards, whether it be the organization as a whole or your team, your community. This is what we want to do. And it can be vision in a microcosm. It could be on a macro scale. It could be that, we need to work on these things in order to get to this bigger part. But I see that that plan and how we can get there together. And having that vision and communicating it with those others around you is very important to be an effective leader. And it doesn't help if you just keep it all inside. So think of what it is that the vision is, the grand scale. It can be that big, hairy, audacious goals. It could be something that's just a little bit more understated, but something that's more achievable. Whatever it is, it's an idea that is something that you can achieve. The other part is trust. And trust is a very important part of leadership. We talk about trust being earned, and we need, that we have to develop it. But where does that cycle start? The trust cycle has to begin somewhere. And a good leader will begin the trust cycle. They'll trust that others will help get that vision accomplished. They'll help those little aspects that they're capable of doing. They'll trust that they have the knowledge and the resources to make their part of achieving those goals and that vision possible. And they also make sure that the people that they're helping, that putting their trust into, trust that they've got their back. I've been in situations where I've had a manager who, while somebody was in the middle of throwing me under the bus, the manager decided they were going to drive the bus. And I did everything I could to keep everything under control and maintain appearances, trying to be the good guy in it, and it didn't work out that well. But that trust was broken when that person who should have been a leader didn't at least give fair opportunity. And so there has to be trust, and it has to go both ways, and it develops. It will develop. The leaders are the ones who trust. They trust themselves too. They trust that they've got the resources, if not the vision, but also the resources, the people around them. And they trust that, okay, I don't have to make that decision. I'm going to trust that that person is going to make the decision, and they're going to do a good job. And maybe they're going to be wrong. Maybe I would have done it differently. But I trust that the person sees the vision that we're trying to accomplish, and I'm going to not break that trust, even if they do something that's not right. They try to help them out, and that's another part that comes into empathy. Excuse me here. Empathy is very important when it comes to leadership. And like Simon Sinek, he has this great scenario. He talks about a manager might walk into a salesperson's office and say, hey, you haven't hit your sales goals in the last 3 quarters. We've had this discussion. If you don't get your numbers up there, we're going to have a conversation and may have to let you go. Whereas somebody with empathy, a good leader, will say, hey, you've missed your sales quota in the last 3 quarters. We've had this discussion before. What's wrong? And being able to empathize and help people with those, whatever's going on with them, maybe you can help them. And the leadership is about making sure that you know the people on your team and you empathize with them. You know what it takes to motivate them and help them, and you give them the resources. As the president of the Toastmasters Club, there was the VP of Education, there's a VP of Membership, the VP of PR, the Secretary, the Treasurer, and in our club we have a mentorship chair. And those people have their roles. Those people have their goals. And it is about making sure that they do the things that they need to do. And if they can't, if there's something going on, you step in and help them. And it is about making sure, because once that team is working well, you don't have as much to do as the leader. You set the goal, you set the vibe, and that's what you can do, especially as somebody who goes in every day to an organization or however often you go in, be there, be present, but you set the vibe and you set the energy level. And if the person who sets the energy level is the person who will inevitably be the leader, because it is very important. I had a saying on Monday, and this is a lot more me than people will realize. I called it my hooker and blow theory. Tongue-in-cheek idea that, if you want the money on Friday to enjoy yourself, the hookers and blow, then you're going to need to start working on Monday. Monday morning is the most important day. People go in with this attitude, oh, Monday sucks. But when you're in sales, when you're in a position to try to get something and achieve something, Monday, if aside from the weekend, you may work on the weekend. But that Monday, that drive, that's where it starts. And if you start your energy there and you go in that direction, then you're gonna have a lot better outcome by the time Friday comes along. Because Friday, everyone's checked out. If you're making sales, fewer sales are usually done on a Friday, unless it's beer sales. That energy needs to be there and it needs to be started. And so start it off there and be empathetic to those in your team. Getting right back to that. Because if you don't have that empathy, if those people aren't feeling it, then you're not going to get to that place where you need to be. People are not going to have that trust in you. They're going to say, okay, I'm at risk. I can't do my job well because if I do something wrong, I feel that I can't trust that I'm going to be covered. Then it's going to come back at me and I'm going to lose my job or something's going to happen. And so it all works together, from the vision, the trust, the empathy, and having that energy to make sure that things go well and making sure that people are up. When things get down, the leaders aren't the one necessarily leaders will be the one that help drive that energy. You don't have to do it if it's false. If you're not feeling it yourself, you can say as a leader, I'm not feeling it today. I'm having my times, my down times. That builds the trust that, hey, they're not just up there trying to keep up appearances, but they do try to make sure that the energy is up in the people when they start feeling a little bit down. They say, hey, you can do this. You've got this. You just need to let me help you with that. And that bringing up that energy is really important, because then they feel that you've heard them. You know that they're down. And this isn't a group dynamic. You could not necessarily be the leader of the group, but having that dynamic of saying that, look, I know you're going through this and let me help you. And that helps bring up the energy in itself. These are all tied together. They don't sit in a vacuum. The people who exhibit great leadership skills have these skills. I'm sure you know of somebody. I'm sure when I go through these things, you can actually think of somebody who exhibits these skills in your life. And those are people who are good leaders. And one of the biggest parts of it is service. It is helping others, because management may be about having people under you, but as I said, it's about helping people, those who are protecting those who are in your charge. Servant leadership, there's a lot of qualities, and if you look into servant leadership, you'll find that there's a whole philosophy on that. But you really are servicing others. You're servicing the overall goal, the vision of whatever it is, the community, the sport, the group, whatever it is that the business that you're working with. But it's also service to the people around you, helping others become leaders themselves, giving them the opportunities to rise and shine. Leaders are the ones who will be the one that take blame, and they'll share accolades. And we know people, we've probably seen people in your life who do the opposite. And we know that they're not leaders, they're toxic often. And they're the first ones to shift the blame to other people and take all the accolades for themselves. And so that's disingenuous. We know this. When we hear stories, when someone's telling a story, if they are always the hero in the stories, we start to feel that they're not genuine, that there's something wrong there, that they're always feeling the need to put themselves up. And that's the same thing with leadership, and you feel it. You know it when you see it, when you hear it. And the person who puts other people up and services them and helps them grow, they're going to be seen as the person who is going to, that they want to follow. And those are also the people who get the accolades and grow themselves. You give accolades to somebody else, they're going to say, yeah, but I could have done it without them. And that grows itself. It works together. And mentorship. Mentorship is a big part of leadership. And I highly recommend if I mentor a lot of people, not because to be a leader, but I find that people who are mentors are leaders. And so if you have the opportunity to mentor people, and there's different ways of mentoring, different aspects of life and business that will help you. So if you have those qualities and you go for it and you'll bring in, wrapping it up, you'll say it was vision, trust, empathy, energy, and service. And by exhibiting these, then you're going to find a lot more opportunities in your organization. If you think about these things in terms of your organization, where you are, what you can do to affect change, and how in a positive way, not just in the industry, but also in those people around you. Because leadership is about people. And you want to make sure that if you're going to be, if your goal is to be a leader, if you want to follow leaders, and there's people that you will gravitate to, try to exhibit some of those qualities. It grows over time. No one's a leader. No one's born a leader. They're formed. So try to pull these things, these behaviors, these traits into what you do on a daily basis. If you have questions about leadership in your team, whether you're in a corporate team or your small business, we can help you at Jade Strategic Relations. Give me a shout, jdthomas@jadestrategicrelations.com. Visit our website, jadestrategicrelations.com, and check out our services and how we can help you. It's really is an amazing thing when you get to help others understand what the qualities that they have and how to exhibit them on a daily basis. And this is where we try to help people in the community. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you found this helpful. If you're interested, if you like this on the YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And hit the notification bell for more to get notified on new videos. I'll be here on next Tuesday for my Tuesday Live, and with another topic that I hope you'll find useful. Have a great week. Make it a great lead. Show the leadership qualities you have out there, and make it the best you can. Cheers.